Dom needed a safe delivery to Rio in 2 days. That was a problem. Hosting his family in the Dominican Republic at his vacation. Anyone messes with you here, they mess with the entire country. You'll be safe. Dime a ver, manín. Yeah. Hey, here. I picked them up myself at the airport. No. You good?
Dom.
Yeah, man, it's me. How's it going now?
Well, Mondo, this place is like a fortress. You should see Brian. He's in full FBI mode. He built a surveillance hub in Mondo's garage and everything. What about you? Did you find out who's after us?
Looks like the sins of London have followed us home.
Hi everybody, I'm Peter Travers and welcome to Popcorn, where we tell you what is happening at the movies, and there's no bigger happening right now than Furious 7. It's a movie that stars Vin Diesel and the late Paul Walker and my guest today, Jordana Brewster, who has been through a lot with these guys. So if anybody knows the story of Fast and the Furious, it's Jordana Brewster, so welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome here.
Thank you.
What's it like now to be at number 7?
It's incredible. I mean, it feels so blessed. It's been 15 years and we've kind of...
You were a child. You shouldn't even been legal
I know.
when you started doing
Truly
this.
a baby. 18-year-old with no license who was in college.
No license, really?
Yeah, who really had no idea what she was doing.
So immediately
back then.
they said, Jordana can't drive a car. Let's put her in Fast and the Furious.
It's so weird because they cast me and then they said, okay, now go get your license. And I was like, first of all, it's not that easy. So then I had to scramble, get lessons in New York.
Mm-hmm. The best place to drive, though. Yeah,
I mean,
it's great.
I was petrified. And then I remember the instructor picked me up in New York and we had to get on like the LIE to go get the test done. And I was so scared, but luckily I passed.
So you are a licensed driver.
I
We've
am
established
now.
that at the beginning of this. But what was that? Go back to that first movie where you're walking on the set with everybody, nobody really knows each other.
No.
What was that like?
I remember Rob Cohen and Vin just had so much vision and really spoke about the characters in such a different way. You can really tell when someone's invested in the project. They talk scenes out and make sure you have rehearsal time, and they don't just treat a film as if like it's just, you know, a product that you want to churn out. And it's kind of been that way with every other film after that. You know, we really take time with scenes and with character development, and we know that we can't disappoint our audience. We can't take them for granted, despite the fact that we're on the 7th one now. So I think that's part of the reason they're so successful.
But on that day, talking about these two actors, Vin Diesel and Paul Walker, what was your reaction when you meet them for the first time?
With Vin, I remember him being intimidating because he was this big guy.
He still is.
He's still, yeah, but now he's my brother and I know him really well and we're both parents, so I just feel like I just have this ease with him. But back then I was intimidated by him, also very intimidated by Michelle, because I was this sort of preppy East Coast girl and Michelle was this tough girl off of the movie she had just done, and I just remember just not being able to relate to her, and yet now years later I adore her and I have the best conversations with Michelle because she's so completely honest. And with Paul, I remember this guy with blonde highlights walking into this room and just thinking how gorgeous he was. But it was all these first impressions, and if anything, this franchise has taught me never judge a book by its cover, because all of the first impressions of my castmates have
They're all wrong.
They're all completely wrong, truly, all completely wrong. So it's been a wonderful lesson.
So when the script for 7 comes to you, what are you saying? Are you saying this is different than all the others, that there was something more or less in this when you read it?
With the Fast and Furious films, it's always about execution. It always comes alive in the film, not necessarily in the script, because in the script I'm always wondering how the hell are they going to pull this off? You know, I read about the set pieces or the flipping cars or the cars parachuting off of a plane, and I'm just like, how are they going to do this? And it's just, you know, our second unit.
You, a licensed driver, are worried about something, and where all of these things can happen in life.
Luckily, Mia's pretty chill in this one.
She is.
Yes, she is.
What is she? Describe her, because she goes through a lot of changes from the time we first see her. She is basically this center for Vin's character, Dom. This is family. He has to protect her. And eventually, Brian, that Paul Walker plays, gets to feel the same way.
Yeah, and I think in some ways she's also protecting them. I think in some ways she's the conscience for the boys. She's the one sort of directing them and telling, and she's an extremely selfless person. I mean, if it were me, I'd be like, you both are staying home and we're all keeping safe, and that's that.
That's right.
But she's always the one that's like, you have to go out there and fight these guys and come home to me. And she's just extremely stoic and strong. So I really admire her for that.
What do you remember about Paul in this last movie that's different from the guy with the highlights you met in the first one?
Paul, what I remember, one of the things that struck me the most, in our years of friendship was the stuff that he would keep to himself. And in this film specifically, he has this, remember the action scene with Tony Jaa?
Yeah.
I mean, he does most of that himself. He's truly, out of all, most of us are faking it. Most of us don't do our own stunts. But he does. Like, he was truly a black belt. And I didn't know that until Fast 5. So that's the kind of stuff, like, he just was such a humble dude. Like, he just wouldn't, not boastful. I mean, which is so not Hollywood. And I think that just speaks volumes about him.
But then, halfway through, he has this tragic accident. What's the reaction? What's your reaction first when you hear about that happening?
I just couldn't believe it. I really, really, really couldn't believe it.
So what's the mood on the set when you go back?
It was very supportive and loving in that, what was the most striking to me, and even now it happens, like it wasn't just about the cast banding together, but it was about the crew and people who had known him for, 10, 15 years. And what was beautiful about the set was that, like, everyone tried to maintain a sense of decorum and professionalism, and yet if one of us lost it all of a sudden in the makeup chair, we were just there to support, So that's kind of what the mood was like.
So what about you, just you? You start in this, you have quite the upbringing. You were born in Panama. Then you wind up in London.
Yes.
Then you're in New York. I looked back and I saw a clip of you on a soap opera called As the World Turns. And it's amazing to look at you in that because you don't look formed yet.
Right,
You're
yeah.
just this.
Yeah.
So was this a big deal to you? Were you enjoying it so much?
It was a huge deal. I loved it. And what I really loved was also balancing work and school. I just love juggling things. I think it helps to not be fully invested in one, because I think emotionally it just helps, because as an actress I always had school, and as a student I always had my career, and I was especially grateful as a senior in college when I realized, hey, I already know what I want to do. Like I'm set.
But when you do this first movie, when you do something like The Faculty and you look at yourself on this now big giant screen, what was your reaction? This is cool?
Oh, I loved it. I loved it. And it was from Miramax, and everyone was just touting the film as like the next big thing. So I was just so excited. Yeah. It was one of my favorite experiences on a film set.
I remember that too, you were.
And Salma Hayek was in it, Famke Janssen. I mean, it was such a cool cast. Jon Stewart.
That's right, Jon Stewart. You should get him, he's free now.
Right.
And you could do Faculty too.
That would be amazing.
How about you, analytical about your own work? Like, is there a scene in Furious 7 that resonates for you, looking at you? Not that it's the best scene or the hardest one, but one where you can look at you and say, I got close in that to what I wanted to achieve in it.
The phone call between Brian and Mia. I really love that scene. And I also love that scene because I think for the first time, the film started making references to past films.
Yeah.
And so it was especially sweet, and in this case, bittersweet. I really love that scene.
And when you look back at the 5 of the 7 that you've seen, is there a moment in one of those movies that you said to yourself, I'm in a period of my life where something has changed and I have achieved something in one of them that I really wanted to move toward?
5 is definitely my favorite in that there's an ease between Brian and Mia that Paul and I had, and I think that transferred onto the screen. And it sort of explored her transition from being this sort of doting sister and a bit of a wallflower to more of a woman as she became a mother, and so I like that transformation in Mia.
So what's the fastest and the most furious thing about you?
I guess my inner temperament is pretty fast and
Is it?
furious. It is. It is. It doesn't seem like that today. I'm pretty mellow today.
Well, last
but
time
usually
I talked to you, you
I'm
kept
very
saying
sort of
you were
like,
making Dallas and you were just, reading, you were watching TV shows,
Yeah.
it was kind of laid back and cool. And now with the kid, you have to be fast.
yeah, I'm a bit of a New Yorker still. I'm still, my tempo's fast.
And you speak different you speak Portuguese, don't you?
Portuguese, yes,
Well,
absolutely.
Jordana, you don't know this, but this show always goes out in song.
Oh,
It
I
does.
did not know that.
I did. I could tell by, otherwise you're just really giving an Academy performance. Yeah, it's it. But we do. We just do a snippet of something. Do you sing to your son? To
I
Julian?
do. I do.
Give us a little of that.
Well, we do Wheels on the Bus.
I love Wheels on
You
the Bus.
do?
In Portuguese, can you do it?
We don't do it in Portuguese. Are you going to sing it with me?
I will, if I remember the words.
The wheels on the bus go round and round, round and round, round and round.
I think that was beautiful.
Okay, good.
Jordana, thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And you didn't even try to eat the
I
popcorn.
tried, but it's all
it's
stuck.
fake, and everything
it
about
looks
it
delicious,
is
though.
completely wrong.
Looks delicious.
But